Hi everyone, it's Yvette Blowitz from spiritgirl.com and welcome to Feel Good from Within. And today I'm super excited to share with you that our very special guest on our show is Sherianna Boyle, who is an international emotional detox coach, author of 9 books, including her most recent Emotional Detox Now. She is a psychology professor and a founder of Emotional Detox Coaching. She also is a host of the Just Ask Spirit podcast. We're going to be here today talking to Sherianna Boyle about her brand new book, Emotional Detox Now. 135 self-guided practices to renew your mind, heart, and spirit. Sherianna Boyle, how are you?
I'm great. So wonderful to be here.
Before we dive into your brand new book, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'm a writer, I'm an author, and I write about mental health and spirituality. And I also teach psychology and I teach yoga. But all those things, as you know, go together very nicely. And I've been really focusing on emotions the last few years. Emotional Detox, my core book, which I think is when I met you, came out in 2018. And in that book, I put kind of a new perspective in terms of the way that we look at emotions, how we treat emotions. And then since then, I've written 2 more emotional detox books. So I did Emotional Detox for Anxiety. And then this one that you and I are talking about, Emotional Detox Now. So many people wanted to know how to do this on their own in their daily life. So I wrote out 135 emotional detox practices in the Emotional Detox Now book.
Wow. And for someone who's wondering, what is an emotional detox and what is the now part?
I wondered that as well. That was how I started when I was doing the research. That was back in 2016. And I didn't find anything really that I could put my hands around. It's kind of loosely tossed around, emotional detox, do this, drink this, that kind of thing. We think of physical detoxes, right? And so that's when I decided to develop the concept. And so when I talk about, I'm talking about what I've developed. An emotional detox it's a mindset and it's based on core principles. And one of the core principles that it's based on is that all your emotions are good. All your emotions are good so long as they're processed. So they're all good, even the guilt, the shame, the fear, the anxiety, they're all good so long as they're processed. Now, the second pillar, one of the pillars, core beliefs it's based on, is an emotional detox is not about getting rid of your emotions. That's not what we're doing. It's about getting rid of the reactions. So we don't get rid of emotions, we get to them. That's what you're detoxing. You're detoxing the reactivity so you can get to the true emotion. Then the question is, well, how do I do that? So I have these core principles, which is the foundation of an emotional detox, what it's based on. All your emotions are good so long as they're processed, right? Even shame, even guilt, even fear. It's all good as long as you process them. So then it was like, okay, well, then how do I process them? Well, that's where cleanse comes in. So cleanse is the 7-step mindful process that I developed. And those practices are in the Emotional Detox Now book. I call it Emotional Detox Now because all your emotions are processed in the now. You can't go out in the future and process them, and you can't go to the past. How many of us have thought about the past? We ruminate, we go over the past events. Does that do any emotional processing? No, it revisits them. And sometimes we get re-traumatized. Sometimes it pulls up stuff and it can get overwhelming. So emotional detox now, it means right now. Now that has a lot of meanings. Not only do we process emotions in the now, but when it comes to an emotional detox, I always say select the situations or reactions that are closest to the now to process because it could get overwhelming. So you could say, okay, well, I understand I have to be present. I have to be in the now, the here and now to process an emotion. But then what? Where do I begin? Because I've got a lot. And that's where I say, go as close to the now as you can. So even you, Yvette, you just were on your way home and you had some traffic, right? You and I were talking about that. That perhaps gave you some reactivity. I don't know. You could go that close to the noun. Did you have any reactions around that? Did you feel a little rushed? Did you feel a little out of sorts? What was that like?
I definitely felt like I wish I would have had more time and I wish I wasn't running late. Yeah, I got quite stressed and a bit anxious, and you're like, oh, quick, 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 quick. I got stuck then behind an elderly person driving the car. And instead of reacting, trying to take it out on that driver, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have some empathy here because she's really elderly. You could tell she was quite scared and fearful and nervous to be driving. So it was like a 60 Ks should be driving, and she was driving about 40. And I didn't want to go too close up because when I did a little bit, I could tell she got even more scared and went to the left. So I was able to process those emotions, compassion and empathy. But maybe my old self would have been really pissed off that this old person was like going really slow. And I'm like, I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. I just took a moment to sort of express empathy.
You're right on in terms of that empathy is being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You saw her age. I know that you have a lot of experience with caring for someone that's elderly or someone that maybe can't see very well, gets nervous. You've developed that empathy for the last year or so. I know everything that you've gone on with your mom. Empathy, it gets strengthened in us through life experiences, right? We gain that ability. So yours is probably really strong right now, which is wonderful. What I pick up, just because I do this so often, I would actually dig in a little bit more with you. And I would say, okay, in terms of emotional processing, you could process the reaction of feeling sorry for her. Because that's a big one. I feel sorry for them. I feel bad, and it feels a little heart heavy. Do you feel that?
Mm,
Like when we feel sorry for someone, especially someone that we see is hurting, or we
mm,
feel bad, there is a heaviness that can come into the heart. It can put a little bit of a weight on us, and that can emotionally over time drag us down. We can
mm,
get exhausted from that. That would be an opportunity to cleanse. So, what I would encourage you to do in terms of an emotional detox is give yourself permission to process what's underneath that. So, you say to yourself, I feel bad for her. She's old. I know. And I'm imagining that there could, maybe Yvette, you could tell me, there could be a little sliver of some stuff to process around your mom in there.
mm,
I mean, why do things like that come in front of us in our lives? We draw them in. This is where spirit comes in.
mm,
When we start to process our emotions, we actually get connected to spirit. We draw them in, not just because, oh, I just happen to land behind this person, but that person is going to elicit any patterns of reactivity in us, even when we keep our cool. Because anytime you have to manage yourself, so this is where there's this new thinking in the way I wrote Emotional Detox. I don't believe in managing our emotions. I know that word self regulation is sort of embedded, and I get it. I'm a psychology professor, I teach it, but I think sometimes we didn't explain it enough. We threw out the term regulate your emotions, which means keep them in check. And I get we don't want to go around hurting people. We want people to behave, but I don't know if that's really helping people to process and feel. So my thing is, there's another way, and that's where cleanse comes in. It's behind a car. It made me feel. And when I
mm,
saw that she was old and she was nervous, it made me feel. That's where you feel reminders again of your mother. You've been to this
mm,
place before. So then you start to let those emotions come up, right? It could make you feel a little sad. We cover it up sometime with I feel bad. I feel sorry. She's
mm,
old. And what we might be covering is sad or, something that needs to be processed.
mm. When I reflect on what you're saying, then I was thinking I get sad for the elderly because they're coming to their end of life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a reminder when I see elderly that they are coming to the end of life.
How does that make you feel?
Sad.
Okay. You have sadness to process, my friend. And you've got some stories that are preventing you from that because we know not all elderly people are frail. That's
Yeah.
a generalization, right? And that's another way we cope. And I always say we don't cope with feelings. That came from pop psychology. We're taught to cope, again, to manage, to regulate. And I'm not saying coping is bad, but what I am saying in emotional detox perspectives, it has an expiration date. We cope when we're just like you did in the car. I have to cope. I'm in a situation and you chose to cope by being empathetic. But once you're not in a driving situation and you're home and maybe you're still thinking, oh, I feel so bad for that lady. Oh, she looks so scared. We're still talking about it now. That's because you have something coming up to be processed in you.
Obviously, with my mum being in aged care, I know at some point, I think it was only a week or two ago, another elderly person, this guy, he sadly passed away. I thought he had a few more years left in him. That with aged care, it's a big thing to process.
It's heavy, Yvette, and so many people can relate here. We have a lot of empaths in the world. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are drawn to you for your empathic qualities. And I think it's a beautiful quality and you get strengthened, but you want to be careful you don't get buried in it. What happens is it gets heavy, we get stuck. It's energy, and then it can influence us. It can influence our motivation. It can influence our finances. It can influence our relationships because what happens? Patterns. All of a sudden, I see, oh, this is happening. It's not just happening here, this fear of loss or this heaviness and sadness. It seems like everybody I attract has a similar pattern, or it's showing up in my workflow, or this heaviness. So, your country, our country has been through a lot and it's been heavy. I mean, it was piled on us. You and I were talking about it. I mean, I know everybody's kind of getting these lifts and restrictions now, but it's like we've all been underwater and we're coming up to breathe. It's just hitting us what happened because we were in survival mode, hunkered down, and some people still are in survival mode, and they might end up later on just having this heaviness appear. Everybody moves at their own pace. And some people are skipping along to the next thing. And everybody's different depending on your background. But what I'm saying is, and that's where emotional detox comes in. And now this sounds like a lot when you're listening. And that's why I wrote the book, because people would say to me, I hear what you're saying. How do I do it? How do I do it without you here holding my hand? And that's when I said, okay, I got to do it. I got to write this book and I just need to spell it out for people. And I use the book. What I like when I get up in the morning, so here's the book, everybody, is I'll just kind of thumb through it and I'll land, right? Now, here's the key. Oh, look at this. And isn't this perfect? I landed on cleansing power struggles. Now, what you don't know about me is last night I had a power struggle with one of my daughters. It doesn't happen very often. I have 3 daughters. They all live with me. A couple of them are adults. We had a power struggle, meaning you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. It escalated. I'm not kidding. And I thought, what the heck is going on? I don't understand what's going on. She and I are usually pretty good, but it's coming up for us because what I realized after I cleansed on it, I do it on my own. I realized that we're still kind of skimming the surface, her and I, meaning there's still levels of intimacy in terms of deeper level conversations that we're not having, meaning, how does that make you feel? I know what you want to do. I know where you're at. I hear you. How does that make you feel? I'm looking forward to the fact that this occurred. And now I'm pretty confident she and I will be stronger in the end because we will open up dialogue now. But look at how I just landed on that is the point. And it says here, cleansing a power struggle. So it begins with a story because I think stories help us connect to the cleanse. And I think they're important. Maybe you want a family member to look at power struggles. If you're a parent and ask your child to do something and they refuse, you know what it's like to be in a power struggle. Oh, yes, I do. Perhaps you're an adult feeling undermined or overruled by your partner. Or maybe you want a family member to take a look at their drinking, get some help. Yet these conversations lead to arguments. And maybe your input in decision making never gets acknowledged. And these are power struggles and they challenge us and they can be quite contentious and messy. And when lawyers, grandparents, doctors, social workers, teachers, outside sources come into the mix, which we can all relate, government coming into the mix. I remember I'm just reading this, contacted by a mother who begged me to please help get her children back from her ex-husband. They were in a power struggle. So the point is there's a story there. So that gives you an idea of, okay, I know what a power struggle is. Yeah, okay, get it. I know what a power struggle is. Then you go through the cleanse and I take you through the process, which is the C, where you clear reactivity, you calm your body. Yvette, let's keep it closer to your experience. Maybe tilt your head side to side, hold a stretch on the side of your neck and hold that for 3, 2, 1, and then bring your head back to center. Pause in the center. Observe your breath in your body. That a girl. You got it. And now, very good. See, she's already starting to disengage it. She's coming out of it. So left ear, left shoulder. So go to the other side. Hold that for 3 and 2 and 1 and head back to center. Nice. Receive the breath. Right. And let's just go into it. And when I saw the woman in the car was old, say that out loud. And when I saw
When I
the woman,
saw the woman in the car was old,
it made me feel.
it made me feel.
Don't answer it. Inhale and exhale. Take another breath. Inhale and exhale. And when I saw that she seemed nervous,
And when I saw that she seemed nervous,
it made me feel.
it made me feel.
Inhale and exhale. Good. Release. Excellent. Good. And then we're going to go into the next step, Yvette, okay? In the book, I show all different variations of this. But today we're going to do this. You're going to do a hum, which is a mantra. And we're going to do that together. And we're going to clear all the reactions around that. In particular, the reaction of you felt responsible. Would you agree? You took a responsibility to almost take care of her. Would you agree?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. That
Yeah, I didn't
right?
wanna drive, like, right up
Yeah,
her backside because I thought I'd make it worse, and I
exactly.
wanted to give her space so
Yeah, but
she could comfortably drive.
you felt responsible, which is a pattern with your mom. You're
Mm, mm,
responsible, the caregiving, right? You want to take
mm,
care of her, guard her, keep her
mm.
safe, kind of thing. That's what I want you to hum. And I want you to get curious about what's on the other side of that. So I want you to hum feeling responsible because that's a reaction that's going to cover up a feeling. Okay. So we're going to do 3 hums together, everybody. Inhale. Two more. Inhale. And one more. Inhale. Okay, just pause there and the energy, and everybody just kind of feel that energy, feel the vibration, let your body relax there. What I'm feeling and what I'm hearing, and this is where just as spirit comes in connection, taking responsibility, especially for things that people don't even know we're taking responsibility for, it almost saves space for the possibility that something could be your fault. And I don't know if that is something that you kind of perhaps in your history, feeling like maybe something could be your fault or not wanting it to be your fault or preventing it, not wanting that to fall on your shoulder, that
Mm.
feeling in your body. I just want you to give you permission to release that, release any feeling of it. Inhale and exhale because there's no freedom there. There's no freedom. It feels a little pointy when something's your fault. It's like saying you did something wrong or bad. And these are kind of stories and narratives that we want to loosen up that, again, cover up what we're feeling. So take another breath on that, Yvette. Like something's your fault or you did something wrong. And that sometimes can come from childhood or whatever. Take another breath. Inhale and exhale. Right. And just again, release in your body and see if it's a little bit looser. The way that I'm seeing it with spirit is just sort of imagine you look down and your shoes are kind of loosen the tie on your shoes. Like let yourself loosen up a little bit, Yvette, a little bit looser. That's what spirit's saying to me now. You got to be a little bit looser, a little bit more footsie carefree. Okay. Don't take things so hard. Don't carry it around. Loosen up. That's what I'm hearing now. Loosen up. Do you feel that? Loosen up, relax, have fun, listen to some more music, start to let emotions come up and heal that way. It doesn't have to suck. That's what I always say with an emotional detox. It can be fun. It doesn't have to suck. Kind of start to loosen. That's what I'm feeling. So now we're going to go into it. Say, I allow loosen.
I allow loosen.
I allow free.
I allow free.
I allow carefree.
I allow carefree.
I allow happy.
I allow happy.
And then I am happy.
I'm happy.
I'm loose.
I'm loose.
I'm carefree.
I'm carefree.
And I'm relaxed.
And I'm relaxed.
Now I want you to imagine you're behind that woman again. And she's in her car and you see she's a little older. But this time you're going to have a new perspective and you're going to say to yourself, whatever, just chilling. And you're driving. You're like, this is kind of cool going at this pace. I get it. And I'm just going to be free now. I'm just going to go with the flow, relax, chill in my car, put up my music, and I'm going to have a different experience this round. How does that feel?
That feels good. I was just listening to some music in my own mind there. Yeah,
Well,
that feels
I
good.
don't want you to not be you. And that's why I took
Yeah.
you back there because that's who you are, Yvette. You're kind, you're loving, you're compassionate. We don't want to lose that and strip that from you. I don't think we could, but I want you to go back there in that energy of this loose, happy, carefree, relaxed kind of feel. Okay. Guess we're going to go this speed today. Whatever.
It's so interesting when we walked through that because I had a lot of emotions coming up.
Yeah.
And something that came up in that cleanse then was, without realizing it, it was the reality of if my mum passes or when she does, that's obviously something I do not want to happen.
Understand. Yes.
But
Mm.
at the same time, I'll have no control over it.
Yeah.
When it does happen, doesn't matter what I do, try to prevent it, I have no control.
That's right.
And it's the nature of life.
Yeah.
And it's still difficult because I am one of the main care supporters. So I pick my mum up every weekend, and it is amazing to have that time with her. And I'm very grateful. There are times as a support carer, you just want to have the weekend off and do
Sure.
nothing.
Your spirit might be craving it. And that's why cleansing is so wonderful because in the end, you receive what your spirit is looking for. Your spirit is looking for a weekend off,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. A weekend off, flying in a plane, because I used to do
Yes.
a lot of travel for
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
and before mum got really critically ill when she had the
Mm,
seizure and went into the coma during COVID. And the other thing I've noticed, Sherianna, I don't know if it's
mm,
the same in America, but I was talking to a lady yesterday at the supermarket. We do have the masks off now, but as a society and community, she was saying that she's noticed quite a hardening,
yeah.
that people are kind of either really exhausted, cranky,
Yeah.
tired,
Yeah.
stressed out, nearly like we have forgotten how to smile, how to laugh, how to have joy.
We've been traumatized. Let's just call it what it is. When you're scared stiff, it's trauma. And we've been
Mhm.
globally traumatized. And everybody's starting to come out of it. And some people are going to have that hardness. They're going to have those walls up because that's the way they've coped, right? They've sheltered, they've shut down their connections, they've lost friendships and family members. I mean, we're coming out of this and everything's different now for some people. Some people are
Mm.
okay. I was just cleansing with a client today, lost her job, family won't be around her. Even the church community, think of people that relied on church. You didn't want to go and follow the rules, and it wasn't the same. So a lot of people just stopped going. And so they lost their supports. Now we're all saying, "Hey, I need a therapist. I need a therapist." Poor therapists are like, "I'm one person." It's like millions of you. And it's not just therapy to get back. It's about bringing this community back, but it's going to take time. It's going to take, I think, a lot of cleansing and a lot of patience with yourself. But that's why in the book, they're 5-10 minutes. I mean, they're not all going to be deep like what I did with you because we're together. As I do in the morning, I just go through and I love it because my mind can start going all over. And this structures me. Okay, I'm cleansing a power struggle. Even if I didn't have a power struggle and recently, if I land on that page, I'm cleansing it. Or some people like to go one at a time because it could be something in me that I just don't even know is there. I'm going to trust my guidance and my intuition.
So, can we do a page, land on a page for our listeners? Because it sounds like this book could be so useful as an intuitive tool
You
where you
can.
just mentioned you can just open it up, see what comes up as a
You
sign.
you can, or you could do like a 30-day. So it's divided in 5 sections. There's relationship cleanses, there's health cleanses, there's family, there's self cleanses just for yourself. So which section? Let me ask you that, Yvette. What section speaks to you?
I think let's do relationships because
Okay.
something that's come up over the last 2 weeks, there's
Yeah.
been a lot of noise about celebrity relationships.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to run my finger down because in each section there's about 20 cleanses under relationships. Okay. So I'm going to run my finger down them. You're going to tell me when to stop. And I land on is yours. Okay. To begin now.
Stop.
Oh, I landed on cleansing after an argument. Does that speak to you?
It does because
Okay.
I've been watching the news
Yeah.
about Will Smith and Chris Rock, and it was all we had.
Yeah.
COVID no longer existed, nor did the war. The
Yeah.
only thing existed was Hollywood.
Yeah.
And sadly, from what I could see from an outsider looking in, Will Smith definitely wasn't his happy go lucky self that we
Right.
normally see him being in social media or on the media. He's
Yeah.
normally renowned for being a really nice guy,
Sure.
really happy go lucky. And unfortunately, from all the commentary, they were saying he has some relationship problem.
We have to keep in mind Chris Rock drew that in. So I know it looks like Will this and Chris Rock in terms of it's both people have something to process. There's a reaction. We draw in what we vibrate. You have to wonder what pattern is coming up there. There's a pattern that revealed itself. There was something that triggered Will for him to do that. He had a trigger. And then he reacted in terms of being hurtful, explosive, and went off the mouth and all that stuff. That those were his reactions. And then Chris Rock handled it very well. Everybody, I think, agrees with that. Couldn't have done any better in that area. But I do wonder what's unprocessed in him that he drew in that situation on such a big thing. That's
Mm.
quite a reflection, right? That's an
Mm.
assault. Let's face it. And
Mm.
I wonder what's happening in Chris Rock when he assaulted me in that way. There's a lot of betrayal is what I'm feeling. So this is just
Mm.
my feeling. I think there's a pattern betrayal, and I think it's showing up in both of the men. I'm not
Sure.
talking just relationship betrayal because I don't want to be starting rumors. I'm
No.
talking sometimes we feel betrayed by friends, by coworkers. So I don't want to start rumors, but what I felt was a pattern of betrayal that needs to be cleared.
So when I was a little kid growing up in Australia,
Mm,
I never liked the Oscars, and I'll tell you why. I couldn't get why they would have someone up on stage making fun of their audience. And
right.
what I viewed from a very young age was they would pay someone to stand up on stage to make really inappropriate jokes at the expense of someone.
Yeah.
Then the people in the audience did this fake awkward laugh.
So true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they kind of all glared at each other like they didn't really like each other as such. They were all
Mm,
sizing each other up.
yeah.
And it was a really fake atmosphere. And I could remember that from a young age, picking up on that and then going, this is awkward. If they were to celebrate people, they would be saying really kind words, compassionate words, really talking these people up. And I
Right.
thought, if this is their establishment and their values, and the value is to rip shreds or make fun of their
Right.
guests, who would even want to go to
Right.
that?
I don't know if it'll ever happen to me in my lifetime that I would get to go to an event like that. But I'm imagining if you're buying a ticket to an event like that, you're buying it to hear about the stars and the awards. You're not buying it for the comedy. I mean, maybe some people are looking forward to it, a little bit of comedy. I think the intention has always been to kind of lighten the room up. But I hear what you're saying that maybe perhaps that needs to be looked at, that if you want comedy, you sign up for it. If you're someone who's a real empath, that's just not your thing and it really bothers you, then you don't sign up. What
Yes.
I hear you saying is they mix it all in and you get it whether you like it or not. And you're an empath. So you have big heart, as do a lot of people. And I think we're coming off a time where it's just not appropriate. It's like going to a funeral and making a joke. People are traumatized. And I think sometimes people who have a lot of money, this kind of status, they lose sight of connecting to people like you and I in
Mm,
everyday life. And it's just was not the right time. People are hurting. It's like you
mm,
don't tease them when they're down. I mean, if Will Smith were in a good place, let's say he felt on top of the world. I mean, just because he has money and fame doesn't always mean he's on top of the world. Maybe he would have rolled differently. But
yeah.
obviously, they're human like everybody else. His wife's human, and
Mm,
it just was not appropriate. There's a divide now, and it feels almost like it's a separation of a class system, doesn't it? The COVID,
mm.
the haves and the have-nots feels a little bit. So I'm not saying it is like that. We have to sort of come back together now and not have that divide anymore. And I think that would help a lot. That humility needs to come back and feel for people.
Yeah,
Um,
I felt that there was a lot of anger around that situation. And what I did see coming up was people had their own trauma coming up or their
yes.
own emotions that they had to cleanse. Different emotions came up. I was reading the comments, women who had domestic violence, it triggered that. Individuals had their own stuff coming up, as
Yes.
in narcissist relationships, racial tension. Looking from an outsider in, my first question was, are you okay? Meaning, if you
Mm,
see someone acting out of
mhm.
character, it would be a sign to check in, are you okay? Meaning mental health wise.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I was able to have more empathy and compassion
Mm,
because even though he is rich, got lots of money, I'm really aware that that doesn't mean he's immune from having
no.
mental health struggles.
Mhm.
So I felt like the whole mental health
Mm,
aspect was really pushed aside because when
sure.
they are wealthy.
Yeah, I agree. This could be life-changing for him in a good way,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it could really help him to come out and help a lot of people, as
Yeah.
well as Chris Rock. It could be really life-changing. Sometimes really great things happen from these situations. I think everybody in some ways needed to talk about something else besides COVID and the war and
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
think people were kind of like jonesing for some good old gossip.
Now, going
Yeah,
back to your book, you've been really busy with your book launching and everything. And I should
yeah.
say it's out here in Australia and it's available to buy at Booktopia, Dimmicks, QBD Books, Readings, which is Melbourne's own bookstore since 1969. It's on the Nile, Amazon, find your bookshop, Big W. How does it feel to see your book out and to have people buying it, reading it? And working through the different emotions and situations that you offer in the book.
What I'm finding happening, I'm touching people that never heard of me before. So, what is happening that I'm seeing is some people are going to the first emotional detox and they're reading that. They're thinking, okay, I got to read this one, then this one. I mean, it's exciting to me to think about people feeling and to think about people practicing the cleanse. I just did a 30-day cleanse on Sheriannaboyle.com and we all did it together. We did one practice a day and then we just talk about it on Facebook and kind of gave some support there. I'm going to do another one in May and it was free. You just sign up and then it gives you a little structure around that. I'm particularly excited for the youth. With moms, we're not always popular with your kids. And yet with the cleanse, they perk up. So sometimes I'll say, you want to cleanse on that? Something will come up. I'll say, you want to cleanse on that? And I'll do it right in the kitchen. And they'll never say no, which is very different for them because I used to say, like, oh, you want to go to yoga? Do you want to just take some breaths? Do you want to go for a walk? And I'll say, do you want to cleanse on that? And they're open. And so that means, okay, this is interesting. And I also work at a college. So I'm with that age group. And I'll say, sounds like something's coming up to be cleansed. You guys want to do a quick cleanse together? Yeah, we do. No one says no. So that is exciting, but it takes time to get a book out. Unless you're a celebrity, people like you, I'm grateful for. It takes a good year to get out there and just kind of keep plugging because there's so many great books I'm super excited about it.
And when you talk about cleanse, this
Yeah.
can be anything from, I've been hearing this a lot from parents, and I see it actually in the supermarket, and I only saw it yesterday in a department store. So it's where the child pretty much wants everything,
Mhm.
and then the parent is looking very stressed, like, no, we don't have enough money.
Yeah.
There's no money for that. And you can just see there's a lot of stress going on financially. People have a lot of emotions coming up. So if
Mhm.
someone is asking them to buy something and they don't have the money for it, obviously a child doesn't understand that.
Right.
I'm noticing this emotion around finances, not having enough, instability, as in don't know when that job's going to finish, or we still got the job. Yes, we've got a job, but we don't have as much money coming in. There's so much going on at the moment. When I talk to people, they'll even say, look, we do not have any money to go on a holiday. So the thing that they used to do before COVID, every year have holidays, but because the cost of living has gone up, like our fuel has gone up, our food has gone up. Blueberries yesterday was $7 a punnet, but I'm really sensing through all ages this
Yeah,
heaviness of
it
financial
is.
burden.
Yes, and it needs to be cleansed. Emotional detoxing is not just about cleansing for you, it's about cleansing for the world. As people begin to process and loosen this energy up, as you've heard me say, we clear patterns of betrayal. I didn't say Will needs to clear betrayal. And I said there's a pattern that exists between them. There are patterns that exist between all of us in terms of fear of finances and scarcity and struggle. And there are specific cleanses in the book. So cleansing when you feel like you don't have enough money is in here. Cleansing burnout is in here. Cleansing paying the bills. So again, you're going to just walk yourself through the steps, cleansing grief, cleansing when you feel overscheduled, cleansing when a family member's struggling. So there's something for everyone. And how I came up with them all is really all the clients I've worked with. And I just started taking notes. I was like, okay, this one
Wow.
seems to come up quite a bit. This one seems to come up quite a bit. I would encourage people to cleanse. And if you still feel like, okay, this is something with finances, I might take that one cleansing, paying the bills, and I might just do that one cleanse all week long.
Wow.
So instead of sifting through a different one each time, I might work with that one every day for a week.
I really love it.
It's flexible. It's a structure, but there's flexibility within it.
And each and every one of us around, say, paying the bills
Mm.
has got a different story, a different experience, a different situation. So it's all going to be totally unique to us.
It's going to come up. That's why I tell the stories, pulls it up for you. Read the story and then do the cleanse. Read the story and do the cleanse. It helps so much more than just a tool. Because
Yeah.
as we tell stories like you do on your podcast, that really helps elicit what's underneath. We need those stories.
So we can still have this emotion coming up that has to be cleansed from even childhood.
Oh
If
gosh,
we
yeah.
grew up in scarcity or not enough
Oh yeah.
money or fear.
Yeah, it's called bodily pain, inflammation, illness. Those things all get manifested.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then we could be in a reactive mode, triggered,
Mhm.
especially during the pandemic, and needing to cleanse it. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, if we don't cleanse these emotions, what
Mhm.
happens? We just keep reacting each time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is quite amazing how human beings are so resilient that we actually can function. Some people will break down. Some people will have a moment like Will Smith and lose it.
Mm,
Some people might have a health condition that gets developed. Some people might have a divorce or loss. It manifests into something until you wake up and see, I need to sit with something here. There's something coming up and it's repeating itself. And then also, again, the opportunities that once you do, then you start to grow. Like I said, I just had a power struggle thing in my own house. It's not that you're never going to react again. However, you'll learn so much from it and it'll be so deep and it will shift your trajectory. Like I said, where you're now behind the car, you're carefree, like it's going to be different for you now. You're going to be aware of that now. Oh, I'm
mm.
fencing up. Oh, I'm trying to take responsibility. I don't even know this woman. I'm going to be responsible. Okay. Spirit says, calm down. Okay. Relax. Ease. You're still going to be there. You're still coasting along and let yourself be guided in the universe. So, emotions, when they're in a processing state, you're connected to your spirit.
Wow.
So the cleanse is a process. You're in the process of transforming something. You're releasing reactivity. So you're not sitting in this horrible feeling or whatever it is, this reactivity. It's a moving, organic, mindful process that you're moving through. And then when you get on the other side, again, you're in that processing state, then you're able to connect to spirit. And then you're able to be guided and then you're able to receive insights and it just makes life a whole lot easier.
A lot of people said they can't sit still even for a few minutes.
Exactly.
You can stand up and do this?
Oh, of course, you can stand and do the cleanse. The good part is there's 135 of them, and you're gonna get very familiar. You're gonna be able to do it on your own even when you don't have the book eventually. You're gonna
Mm.
memorize these steps, but it takes practice. And then when you're in a jam, you'd be surprised you're gonna pull these steps out and you're gonna say, "Okay, I know. I'm gonna cleanse. When in doubt, cleanse." That's what I say.
I'm seeing a thing on Instagram and TikTok where therapists are openly talking how they are starting to burn out.
Mm.
Seen a few posts where therapists are like, I need time out. They're trying to create content to promote their business, and they're doing a lot of content creation and support as well as therapy, and
Mhm.
they're just starting to burn out. How do you, with your therapy work, with your books, with your podcast, you're a mum, you have so much going on.
Mm.
How do you take care of yourself, and what are some of your self-care rituals?
Well, I actually practice what I preach. I cleanse. I cleanse every day, really several times a day because I'm helping other people. And so there isn't a day that doesn't go by that I'm not cleansing. I also teach yoga. I cleanse in yoga. I teach online at my website, sheriannaboyle.com. I'm just always in that space. But how do I do it? Well, I connect to my spirit. So I look at emotional processing as the pathway for connecting to spirit. And when I connect to spirit, that fills me up. I get lots of energy from that. I get resilience. I get joy. I get happiness. I get so much from it. So I look forward to processing my emotions. When things happen, I think, ooh, something big is going to happen. I'm going to be moving to the next level now. I don't look at a bad day as a bad day anymore. I look at it as an opportunity to cleanse something because something new is coming into my life.
Wow. When you are speaking to so many people, or
Mhm.
listening to what's going on in their life, the cleanse obviously is beneficial for shifting that energy. You have to just keep cleansing your space or aura.
I used to be like that. That was me because I mean, I've written several books before this book, before these emotional detox series. I wrote a book called The Four Gifts of Anxiety. I know about energy tools and all that stuff. And I used to do everything like, oh, cleanse my aura, smudge, this, that. I do nothing. I do nothing now. And the reason is the cleanse is enough. It really is enough. Once you connect to spirit, you're fully protected.
That's
It's
beautiful.
enough. If I think I have to protect myself, that means there's some fear. That's a reaction. That means
Mm.
I'm afraid something's going to get me. I don't have any of that. I used to wear gobs of crystals. Oh, protect me for this, that. And I love crystals and I still wear them, but I wear them to work with them, to play with them. I don't wear them because I'm afraid. And they connect me to spirits. That's the way I find it. But emotions are the gateway. There's no shortcuts. You have to feel.
Wow. I love that. There's no shortcuts. You have to feel. Now,
Yes.
Sherianna Boyle, before we say goodbye, what is
Yes.
your hope for your newfound book readers?
I hope that you will give it a whirl. I hope that they stick with it. They just continue and that they take their time and they don't put a lot of pressure on themselves when they go through a cleanse. And I hope that they share their experiences with me and they reach out if they need help or support. That's why I have Just Ask Spirit Show because that keeps people in the vibration. I just wish them the best. I know that they can have everything that they want. They just have to open up to it.
I love it. They can have everything they want. They just have to open up to it. And how can we stay in touch with you after this podcast show?
It's sheriannaboyle.com is my website, sheriannaboyle.com. And that's where everything is. My books, services, just a spirit class is coming up. And I'll do another one if you miss it. Just get on my list and you'll have up to date stuff there.
Thank you so much, Sherianna Boyle. It's been an absolute pleasure having you back on the podcast show, second time round. Congratulations
Thank
again
you.
on your brand new book, Emotional Detox Now, 135 self guided practices to renew your mind, heart, and spirit.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
grateful that you
Thank
also
you.
did a
Ah,
cleanse for myself.
yes, of
Thank
course.
you so much. And for
Of
our
course.
audience, I hope our global audience learned a lot today and they felt part of our meaningful conversation. Thank you again. We will
Thank
say
you.
goodbye. Thanks,
Okay.
Sherianna.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.
We'll say goodbye to Sherianna Boyle. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.